Hey folks, welcome back to our daily dose of Stoic talks, where we transform everyday struggles into triumphs with a pinch of ancient wisdom. Well, we've all been told that kindness is a virtue, an essential part of being a good human being. From a young age, we're taught to put others' needs before our own, to be the person who's always there to lend a helping hand, to listen, to care, and to give. But what if I told you that this very kindness, the one you've cherished and nurtured all your life, could be the very thing that's slowly ruining you? Yes, you heard me right. Kindness, when unchecked and unbalanced, can become a double-edged sword. It's the silent saber that creeps into your life, making you feel obligated to give more than you receive, leaving you drained, resentful, and questioning your own worth. Have you ever felt that despite your endless giving, you're left with nothing but exhaustion and disappointment? Have you wondered why the more you care, the more others seem to take advantage of you? Let me ask you this. What if your kindness is not just a virtue, but also a vulnerability? What if your well-intentioned acts of compassion are the very things that others exploit, leaving you empty and used up in a world that often takes more than it gives? Could it be that your endless generosity is the anchor holding you back, dragging you down without you even realizing it? Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But what happens when your thoughts are consumed by the needs and desires of others, leaving little room for your own well-being? What happens when your kindness turns into a tool for others to manipulate, rather than a force for your own fulfillment? In this video, we're going to dive deep into this paradox and reveal 8 reasons why your kindness could be ruining your life. But we won't stop there. I'll also provide you with practical solutions to avoid these dangers, so you can continue being the good-hearted person you are without sacrificing your own well-being. Imagine this. You give and give, expecting nothing in return, because that's what you've been told is the right thing to do. But deep down, you hope for a little appreciation, a small gesture of gratitude, some recognition of your efforts. Yet time and again, you're met with silence, or worse, with more demands. The more you give, the more people expect from you, and the cycle never ends. It's not that they're being ungrateful, it's that your kindness has trained them to take you for granted. This is where Stoic philosophy comes into play. The Stoics believed in the power of self-awareness and emotional detachment. They taught that we should give without expecting anything in return, but also that we should guard our energy and protect our inner peace. After all, how can you be truly kind to others if you're not first kind to yourself? Before we dive into the powerful insights of today's video, let's take a quick moment to affirm a simple yet profound truth. Being kind to others is important, but it's crucial to remember that you must be first kind to yourself. So, here's what I want you to do. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and repeat this with me. First, kind to yourself. Feel the strength in those words. Now, to make it stick, write it down in the comments. First, kind to yourself. This isn't just about words. It's about making a commitment to prioritize your well-being. So, if you're ready to uncover the real cost of kindness and learn how to protect yourself from its hidden dangers, my Stoic friends, let's get started. All right, my Stoic friends, let's dive into the first reason why your kindness could be silently ruining your life. You set unrealistic expectations of others. Have you ever found yourself giving so much of your time, energy, and care to someone only to be left feeling disappointed when they don't reciprocate in the way you hoped? You've been taught that kindness is a virtue, that if you're generous and selfless, others will naturally return the favor. But what happens when that doesn't happen? When your kindness is met, not with gratitude, but with indifference, or worse, with more demands. Here's the truth. When you're kind, it's easy to fall into the trap of expecting others to be kind in return. You help a friend move, you cover a shift for a coworker, you're always there to listen, and deep down, you hope that when you need a hand, they'll be there for you too. But life doesn't always work that way, and here's the harsh reality. These expectations can lead you straight into a cycle of disappointment and resentment. Imagine this scenario. You've been the go-to person for everyone around you. You've always stepped up, thinking that your kindness would be appreciated and eventually returned. But then the day comes when you need help, and suddenly those same people are too busy, too preoccupied, or just don't care enough to offer the same support. It hurts, doesn't it? It feels like a betrayal, like you've been used. This is where Stoic philosophy comes in to save the day. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." So what happens when your thoughts are tangled up in unrealistic expectations of how others should behave? You're setting yourself up for a world of hurt. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, our own actions and our own mindset, not the actions of others. Let's be honest, when you expect others to act a certain way because of your kindness, you're giving them the power to control your happiness, and that's a dangerous game to play. Every time someone falls short of your expectations, it's like a little piece of your peace of mind crumbles. But what if you didn't let their actions dictate your feelings? What if you could be kind without expecting anything in return? The key here is to shift your mindset. Start giving because it's who you are, not because you're hoping for something in return. Think of your kindness like a gift you're giving freely, without any strings attached. This doesn't mean you should allow people to walk all over you. Far from it. It means you're choosing to be kind because it aligns with your values, not because you're expecting a payback. Now, I know this might sound like you're just lowering your standards, but that's not the case. Instead, it's about protecting your peace. When you set realistic expectations, you're acknowledging that not everyone will meet your standards, and that's okay. You're not lowering your expectations, you're simply recognizing the reality of human nature. So, how do you avoid the trap of unrealistic expectations? It starts with self-reliance. The Stoics believed that true happiness and peace come from within, not from the actions of others. When you rely on others to validate your kindness, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But when you're kind because it's who you are, because you've decided that's the person you want to be, you become unshakable. Your happiness and well-being aren't at the mercy of others. So, my Stoic friends, as you go about your day, remember this. Be kind, but be kind to yourself first. Set boundaries, manage your expectations, and most importantly, give without the burden of expecting anything in return. Your kindness is a reflection of your character, not a currency to be traded. In the end, your kindness should never come at the cost of your peace of mind. By embracing the Stoic principles of detachment, realistic expectations, and self-reliance, you can continue to be the generous, caring person you are without letting it ruin your life. Remember, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Keep your thoughts grounded, stay true to your values, and let your kindness flow from a place of strength. If you found today's video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps. Don't forget to subscribe for more daily Stoic wisdom and practical advice. Reason 2. You attract the wrong people. Let's flip the script for a moment. Have you ever wondered why, despite your best intentions, you seem to attract the very people who drain your energy rather than those who uplift and support you? You're kind, you're giving, you're always there when someone needs a helping hand, but instead of finding yourself surrounded by like-minded, generous souls, you end up with people who take and take, leaving you feeling empty. It's almost as if your kindness acts like a magnet, drawing in those who see it not as a gift, but as an opportunity to exploit. So why does this happen? Why does your kindness, which should be a beacon for good, end up attracting the wrong kind of people? Here's the uncomfortable truth. When you're overly kind, without setting boundaries, you may unintentionally signal to others that you're an easy target. Your generosity, instead of being seen as a strength, is perceived as something to be taken advantage of, and unfortunately, there are people out there who will take all they can, giving nothing in return. These takers are drawn to those who don't push back, who don't say no, and who are always willing to put others' needs above their own. Now, let's bring Stoic philosophy into this. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, once said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In other words, you must decide who you are and set the standards for how you will be treated. If you don't set these standards, others will set them for you, and they won't always have your best interests at heart. Think about it. When you don't establish clear boundaries, when you give without consideration, you're essentially telling others that it's okay to take advantage of you, and those who are inclined to do so will latch on, draining your time, energy, and emotional reserves. Over time, this can lead to feelings of resentment, bitterness, and even a loss of self-worth. But there's good news. You can change this pattern. It starts with recognizing that kindness must come with boundaries. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean you have to say yes to every request or tolerate behavior that drains you. In fact, true kindness begins with being kind to yourself, by protecting your energy and ensuring that your generosity isn't being exploited. So how do you attract the right people? The ones who appreciate your kindness and reciprocate it. It's all about being intentional with where you direct your energy. Start by setting clear boundaries. When someone asks for your help, take a moment to consider whether it's something you truly want to do, or if you're just saying yes out of habit. If it's the latter, it's okay to say no. In fact, saying no can be one of the kindest things you do for yourself. Next, practice discernment. Pay attention to how people respond to your kindness. Do they show appreciation? Do they offer help in return? Or do they keep asking for more without giving anything back? The Stoics believed in the importance of surrounding yourself with those who uplift and support you. If someone consistently drains your energy without reciprocating, it might be time to reconsider their place in your life. Finally, remember that you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you allow others to take advantage of your kindness, they will continue to do so. But if you set firm boundaries and hold people accountable, you'll start to attract those who respect you and your generosity. Reason 3. Your own needs get overlooked. Let me ask you something, my Stoic friends. When was the last time you truly prioritized yourself? I'm not talking about squeezing in a quick workout or treating yourself to a cup of coffee. I mean really putting your needs, desires, and well-being at the forefront, without guilt, without hesitation. Here's the tough truth. When you're constantly kind, constantly giving, and always putting others first, your own needs often get pushed to the back burner. And while you might tell yourself it's no big deal that you're strong enough to handle it, this pattern can slowly but surely erode your well-being, leaving you drained, unfulfilled, and wondering where all your energy has gone. Imagine you're on an airplane and the flight attendant goes through the safety instructions. What do they always tell you? In the event of an emergency, put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. Why? Because you're no good to anyone if you're passed out from lack of oxygen. The same principle applies to your everyday life. When you're always giving to others, whether it's your time, your energy, or your emotional support, you're essentially giving away pieces of yourself. And if you're not careful, there'll come a point when there's nothing left to give. You've spent so much time tending to everyone else's needs that you've forgotten about your own. This is where Stoicism offers us a crucial lesson. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If you're not taking care of your own needs, if you're constantly putting yourself last, then who's really in control? Are you living your life, or are you merely reacting to the demands of others? Here's the kicker. Your kindness, as noble as it is, can become a form of self-neglect if it's not balanced with self-care. It's easy to convince yourself that you're being selfless, that you're doing the right thing by always being there for others. But what if, by always being there for others, you're failing to be there for yourself? Think about it. How often have you said yes to something even though you were exhausted, just because you didn't want to let someone down? How many times have you put your own needs aside, thinking you'd get to them later, only to realize that later never comes? This constant self-sacrifice might feel like kindness, but in reality, it's a slow drain on your spirit. So how do you change this? How do you ensure that your kindness doesn't lead to your own undoing? First, recognize that self-care is not selfish. It's a necessity. If you want to continue being kind, if you want to keep giving to others, you need to make sure your own cup is full. You can't pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes. Prioritize your well-being, whether it's through regular exercise, spending time doing what you love, or simply setting aside time each day just for yourself. This isn't about being indulgent, it's about survival. Second, start practicing the art of saying no. This is where boundaries come into play. The Stoics taught us the importance of self-discipline and self-respect. By setting boundaries, you're not being unkind, you're being wise. You're recognizing that, in order to be the best version of yourself, you need to protect your time and energy. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person who knows their worth. Lastly, embrace the idea that you deserve to receive as much as you give. This isn't about tallying up favors or keeping score. It's about acknowledging that your needs are just as important as anyone else's. You deserve to be taken care of, just like you take care of others. Start by being kind to yourself. Give yourself permission to rest, to say no, to ask for help when you need it. You'll find that when you do, you'll have more to give, not less. Reason 4. You're seen as weak and easily manipulated. Let's take a moment to think about something a bit unsettling. Have you ever noticed that the more you give, the more people seem to expect from you? It's as if your kindness, which should be a sign of strength and character, somehow starts to look like a weakness in the eyes of others. People begin to assume that you'll always be there to help, that you'll never say no, and before you know it, you're being taken advantage of, treated not as a person with limits and boundaries, but as a resource to be tapped into whenever someone else needs something. You see, when you're constantly kind and accommodating, Some people might start to see you as an easy target. They figure, why not ask you for help? You never say no, after all. And here's where things get dangerous. Over time, your kindness can start to look like something else entirely. A lack of self-respect, or worse, a sign that you're easily manipulated. It's a harsh truth, but one that we need to face head-on. Being too kind, especially without setting clear boundaries, can send the wrong message. Instead of earning you the respect you deserve, it might lead others to think they can push you around. And let's be clear, this isn't because there's something wrong with being kind. Far from it. Kindness is a powerful virtue, but when it's not balanced with self-respect and the ability to stand firm, it can become a double-edged sword. Now let's turn to some Stoic wisdom to navigate this tricky terrain. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is key when it comes to how your kindness is perceived. It's not just about what you do for others, it's about how you present yourself in the process. If you're always bending over backward without ever setting limits, people might start to think that's just who you are, someone who can be pushed around. But here's the good news. You have the power to change this perception. The first step is recognizing that kindness doesn't mean saying yes to everything. True kindness is about knowing when to help and when to step back. It's about offering your support from a place of strength, not obligation. And that's where setting boundaries comes into play. Think of boundaries as your personal guidelines for how you want to be treated. They're not walls meant to keep people out. They're the lines you draw to ensure that your kindness isn't mistaken for weakness. When you set clear boundaries, you're sending a message that while you are kind and willing to help, you also value yourself and your time. You're showing others that you're not someone who can be easily manipulated or taken for granted. Imagine this. The next time someone asks for your help, instead of automatically saying yes, you take a moment to consider whether you have the time, energy, and desire to assist. If you don't, you simply say no. It's not about being rude or unkind. It's about being honest with yourself and others. By doing this, you're not only protecting your own well-being, but you're also earning respect from those around you. People will begin to see you as someone who is kind, yes, but also someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to assert it. And here's something important to remember. Setting boundaries doesn't make you less kind. In fact, it makes your kindness more meaningful. When you help others because you genuinely want to, rather than because you feel obligated, your kindness becomes a true gift rather than a duty. So what's the takeaway here? Your kindness should be a strength, not a weakness. To ensure that it's perceived as such, you need to pair it with self-respect and clear boundaries. Don't let others mistake your kindness for something they can exploit. Instead, let them see it for what it truly is, a reflection of your strength, character, and wisdom. If you found today's video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps. Don't forget to subscribe for more daily Stoic wisdom and practical advice. Reason 5. Your goals and dreams take a back seat. Let's flip the script for a moment, folks. Have you ever looked back at your life and wondered where the time went? Maybe you've spent years pouring your energy into helping others, your friends, your family, your colleagues, only to realize that your own dreams and ambitions have been left in the dust. You've been kind, selfless, and giving, but at what cost? What if I told you that, while you've been busy making everyone else's life easier, your own goals have quietly slipped away, forgotten and unfulfilled? Yes, my Stoic friends, this is the reality we need to confront. Your kindness could be the very thing that's pushing your dreams further out of reach, It's a hard pill to swallow, but here's the truth. When you consistently put others first, your own aspirations tend to get pushed aside. You might think you're doing the right thing, that helping others is more important than focusing on yourself. But what happens when this becomes a pattern? When every time you're about to take a step toward your goals, you get pulled back by someone else's needs? Imagine this. You've always dreamed of starting your own business, writing a book, or maybe traveling the world. But every time you get close to making that dream a reality, something comes up. A friend needs help moving, a colleague asks you to take on extra work, or a family member relies on you for support. You tell yourself that your dreams can wait, that there will be time later. But days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and before you know it, years have passed and your dreams are still on hold. This is where Stoicism offers us a lifeline. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." But how can you do what you need to do if you're always putting yourself last? How can you achieve your goals if you're constantly sacrificing them for the sake of others? When you continually place others' needs above your own, your goals don't just take a back seat, they can disappear altogether. The more you delay your dreams, the more distant and unattainable they become. And here's the kicker. The longer you wait, the harder it gets to reignite that passion, that drive, that once fueled your ambitions. It's like a fire that, without proper attention, slowly burns out, leaving only ashes of what could have been. This isn't just about lost opportunities, it's about lost potential. Every time you say yes to someone else at the expense of your own dreams, you're saying no to yourself. And over time, those small sacrifices add up. You might find yourself feeling unfulfilled, frustrated, or even resentful, not just toward others, but toward yourself for not having the courage to prioritize your own life. So how do we break free from this cycle of self-sacrifice? How do we start putting our own dreams back on the agenda? The answer lies in adopting a Stoic mindset, one that values purpose and intention in every action. First, let's start with a simple but powerful question. What do you want? Not what others want from you, but what do you truly want for yourself? Take a moment to reflect on this. It might feel strange at first, especially if you've spent most of your life focusing on others, but it's essential. Your dreams are just as important as anyone else's, and it's time to give them the attention they deserve. Next, it's time to set boundaries. Being kind doesn't mean you have to be a martyr. You can still be generous and supportive while also making space for your own goals. It's all about balance. When someone asks for your help, take a moment to consider whether saying yes will take you away from something important to you. If it does, it's okay to say no. Remember, every time you protect your time, you're giving your dreams a fighting chance. In Stoicism, action isn't just about doing, it's about doing with purpose. When you decide to pursue your goals, you're not just chasing a dream, you're living in alignment with your true self. And when you act with purpose, you're not just moving forward, you're moving forward with intention, with a clear vision of where you want to go and who you want to become. So, my Stoic friends, don't let your kindness be the reason your dreams are deferred. Take a stand for yourself, revisit those ambitions you've put on hold, and start making them a priority. Remember, it's not selfish to pursue your dreams. It's necessary. As Epictetus said, first, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. It's time to do what you have to do. Reason 6. You develop resentment toward others. Let's talk about something that might be a little uncomfortable, but is absolutely crucial to understand. Resentment. Have you ever noticed that the more you give, the more frustrated you become when others don't seem to notice or appreciate your efforts? You might brush it off at first, thinking, "I'm doing this out of kindness, not for recognition." But deep down, a seed of bitterness starts to grow, and before you know it, you're carrying around a heavy load of resentment. It's a paradox, isn't it? The very kindness that's supposed to make you feel good, to elevate your sense of self-worth, is instead making you feel burdened, taken for granted, and, let's be honest, a little bit angry. How did we get here? Here's the harsh reality. When your kindness is met with indifference, or worse, when people start to expect it as a given, you begin to feel like you're being used, and that feeling doesn't just go away. It festers, it builds up, until one day you find yourself snapping at someone or withdrawing from relationships altogether because you're just too tired of being the giver with nothing to show for it. This resentment isn't just about the other person's behavior, it's also about the expectations you've set for yourself. You might have grown up believing that to be a good person, you have to be selfless, always putting others first. But here's the thing. When you constantly sacrifice your own needs for others, without any consideration for yourself, you're bound to start feeling like a doormat, and no one wants to feel like that. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." But being good doesn't mean being a martyr. It doesn't mean you have to keep giving until there's nothing left of you. True kindness, according to Stoic philosophy, is about balance. It's about giving, yes, but also about knowing when to stop, when to protect your own well-being. Once resentment sets in, it's a hard cycle to break. You might start to pull back, giving less, but with every act of kindness, the bitterness lingers. You might even start keeping score. I did this for them, but they haven't done anything for me. This isn't just unhealthy, it's destructive. It turns your kindness into a transactional act, rather than a genuine expression of your character. And the worst part? Resentment doesn't just damage your relationships with others, it damages your relationship with yourself. It makes you question your worth, your motivations, and your ability to connect with others in a meaningful way. So how do you break free from this cycle of resentment? The first step is to recognize that your kindness must be rooted in self-respect. You can't pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes. If you're constantly giving without receiving anything in return, it's time to reassess your approach. The Stoics taught the importance of self-awareness and moderation. They believed that while it's noble to help others, it's equally important to ensure that your kindness doesn't come at the expense of your own peace of mind. You need to be kind to yourself first. That means setting boundaries, saying no when necessary, and not being afraid to prioritize your own needs. One powerful way to combat resentment is to shift your mindset from expecting reciprocity to practicing gratitude. Instead of focusing on what others aren't giving you, focus on the joy you find in the act of giving itself. But, and this is crucial, don't forget to also recognize your own needs. Celebrate the moments when you stand up for yourself, when you choose to give because it feels right, not because you feel obligated. Another key is to embrace the Stoic principle of amor fati, which means loving your fate. This doesn't mean you have to accept being mistreated, but it does mean recognizing that not everyone will give back what you put in, and that's okay. What matters most is how you handle it. By choosing to release resentment, by choosing to be at peace with your own decisions, you empower yourself. Finally, protect your peace at all costs. Resentment is a thief of joy, and it's not something you can afford to let into your life. Be selective about where you direct your kindness, practice self-care, and remember that it's not selfish to put yourself first. It's essential. As you navigate your relationships, keep this in mind. Your kindness is a gift, not a requirement. It's something you offer freely, not something that should be taken for granted. When you give from a place of strength and self-respect, you're less likely to feel resentful because you know that your kindness isn't about them. It's about you. Reason 7. You risk losing your sense of self. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered who you've become? You started off with a clear sense of who you are, your goals, your dreams, and your values. But somewhere along the way, your kindness, your relentless drive to please others and be there for them, has taken over. Now, instead of being true to yourself, you find yourself molding to fit the needs and desires of everyone around you. My Stoic friends, this is where the danger lies. You risk losing your sense of self. Imagine this scenario. You're the one everyone turns to when they need help. You're the fixer, the listener, the one who always says yes because you want to be kind, helpful, and supportive. But slowly, without even noticing, you start to lose sight of what you want, who you are, and what you stand for. Your life becomes a reflection of the needs of others, and your own identity gets lost in the process. This is the insidious side of kindness, when your sense of self gets eroded by the constant need to serve others. At first, it feels good to be needed, to be the one who's always there, but over time, this can lead to a dangerous place where you no longer recognize the person you've become. Instead of living a life that's true to you, you're living a life dictated by the expectations and demands of others. The Stoics had a lot to say about the importance of self-identity. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach." What does this mean for us? It means that our relationships and interactions should be balanced. They should help us grow, not diminish us. But when your kindness is unchecked, it can lead you to surround yourself with people who take advantage of your good nature, who expect you to always be there for them without giving anything in return. And when that happens, your own identity, the person you truly are, begins to fade. So, how do you protect yourself from losing your sense of self while still being the kind, generous person you want to be? The answer lies in boundaries and self-awareness. First, you need to set clear boundaries. This doesn't mean you stop being kind. It means you're kind on your terms. You decide when, how, and to whom you give your time and energy. By setting boundaries, you ensure that your kindness doesn't come at the expense of your own well-being. Second, practice self-awareness. Regularly check in with yourself and ask, am I living in alignment with my values? Am I doing this because it's true to who I am, or because I feel obligated to please others? This kind of introspection is crucial for maintaining a strong sense of self. Think of your identity like a compass. It guides you, keeps you on track, and helps you navigate through life's challenges. But if you allow your kindness to override your compass, you'll find yourself lost, drifting without direction. The Stoics believed that knowing yourself, your values, your principles, your true desires, is the foundation of a meaningful life. When you lose that, you lose the core of who you are. Another important step is to surround yourself with people who respect your boundaries and encourage your growth. This doesn't mean cutting off everyone who doesn't meet your expectations, but it does mean being mindful of who you let into your inner circle. The people you spend time with should lift you up, not drain you. In the end, my Stoic friends, it's about balance. Be kind, yes, but don't let your kindness consume you. Remember that you can only give to others if you're first whole within yourself. Protect your sense of self like a precious resource because it is. Without it, your kindness, no matter how well-intentioned, will lead you down a path of self-neglect and confusion. So, as you continue on your journey of kindness, make sure you're doing it from a place of strength, not sacrifice. Keep your compass, your true self, always in sight, and let it guide your actions. That way, your kindness will be a reflection of who you truly are, not a mask you wear to please others. And remember Seneca's words, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Be kind, but also be kind to yourself. Your sense of self is too valuable to lose. Reason 8. You become emotionally drained. All right, let's talk about something that often sneaks up on us without warning. Emotional exhaustion. Have you ever noticed how, after giving and giving, you start to feel a little less like yourself? Maybe it's subtle at first, just a bit of fatigue, but over time it grows into something much bigger. Suddenly, the kindness that once came so naturally to you feels like a burden, and you're left wondering where all your energy has gone. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're carrying a bucket of water. Every time you're kind, whether it's lending a hand, offering a listening ear, or going out of your way to help someone, you're dipping into that bucket. But here's the catch. If you keep dipping into it without ever taking the time to refill it, eventually that bucket runs dry. And when it does, you're left with nothing but an overwhelming sense of exhaustion, both physically and emotionally. But why does this happen? It's simple. Your kindness, when not balanced with self-care, leads to emotional drain. You see, constantly giving, without taking the time to recharge, is like running a marathon without ever stopping for water. At some point, you're going to hit a wall. Now, I know what you're thinking, but isn't kindness supposed to make me feel good? Isn't helping others supposed to be fulfilling? And you're absolutely right. Kindness is fulfilling, but only when it's given from a place of strength and balance. When your kindness is fueled by obligation, guilt, or a need to be liked, it becomes a weight that slowly wears you down. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in to guide us. The Stoics were big on balance, on finding the middle ground in all things. They believed that true virtue lies in moderation, and this applies to your kindness as well. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When your kindness is leaving you emotionally drained, it's a sign that you've lost control over your own mind and allowed external demands to dictate your actions. So, how do you reclaim your emotional energy? It starts with recognizing that self-care is not selfish, it's essential. You need to take time to refill your bucket, to recharge your emotional batteries, so that when you give, you're giving from a place of abundance, not depletion. Start by setting clear boundaries. Understand that it's okay to say no sometimes. In fact, it's necessary. When you're constantly saying yes to others, you're saying no to yourself. And let's be honest, how can you continue to be kind to others if you're not being kind to yourself first? Next, carve out time for yourself every day, even if it's just a few minutes. Whether it's a walk in nature, reading a book, or simply sitting in silence, find something that nourishes your soul and makes you feel whole again. This is your time to recharge, to refill that bucket, so that when you do give, it's from a place of strength. Remember, my Stoic friends, kindness is a beautiful thing, but it should never come at the cost of your own well-being. The next time you feel that emotional drain creeping in, take a step back and ask yourself, am I giving from a place of strength, or am I running on empty? If it's the latter, it's time to hit the pause button and focus on yourself. So, my Stoic friends, as we've explored today, kindness is indeed a virtue, but like all virtues, it needs balance and boundaries. When unchecked, your kindness can become a double-edged sword, draining you emotionally, setting unrealistic expectations, and allowing others to take advantage of your good nature. But by embracing the wisdom of Stoicism, you can protect yourself from these hidden dangers. Remember, it's not about giving less, but about giving wisely. Be kind to others while also being first kind to yourself. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So keep your thoughts centered on your well-being, set those healthy boundaries, and let your kindness shine from a place of strength and self-respect. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep living the Stoic way. If you found today's video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps. Don't forget to subscribe for more daily Stoic wisdom and practical advice.